Krevnash reached for his weapon, but Hana moved faster than his eyes could follow. One moment she was sitting on the medical table, the next she was standing behind him with his own weapon in her hand. "I wouldn't," she said softly, pointing the alien gun at Thexmol. "This is interesting technology. I can see exactly how it works now." Thexmol stared at her in shock. The human had been dead. He had seen the scans himself. No heart, no brain activity, no life signs at all. Yet here she stood, moving with speed and coordination that seemed impossible. "What are you?" he whispered. "I'm exactly what I was before," Hana said. "A scientist. But now I'm a scientist who has learned some very important things about pain, about death, and about what my species is truly capable of." She looked at the weapon in her hands and somehow understood its design completely. The power source, the targeting system, the energy output. It was all clear to her now, as if she had built it herself. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Plasma-based, with a neural targeting component, designed to cause maximum suffering rather than quick death. That tells me everything I need to know about your people." "Security to medical bay," Thexmol called into his communicator. "They won't get here in time," Hana said. She pointed the weapon at a wall panel and fired. The blast was perfectly aimed, destroying the communication system without damaging anything else. Krevnash tried to edge toward the door, but Hana was watching him without even looking. "Stay where you are, both of you." "How is this possible?" Krevnash asked. "You were dead. I confirmed it myself." "Dead, yes. But humans have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We just took that saying one step further." Hana moved to the medical computer and placed her hand on the interface. Instantly, information flowed into her mind. Ship schematics, crew locations, security protocols. She absorbed it all in seconds. "Interesting ship design," she commented. 17 decks, crew of 347, mostly Vorthak with some slave species. My friends are being held on Deck 9, Section 4. "How can you access our systems?" Thexmol demanded. "They are encrypted with quantum-level security." "Your security is designed to stop normal minds," Hana said. "I'm not normal anymore." She studied the ship's layout in her head, planning the fastest route to the detention area. But first, she needed to make sure these two couldn't warn anyone. "You tortured me for information about human weaknesses," she said, turning back to face them. "Let me share something you didn't learn. Our greatest strength isn't our technology or our numbers. It's that we refuse to give up, even when giving up seems like the only logical choice." "You are one being against an entire ship," Thexmol said, trying to sound confident. "Whatever has happened to you, you cannot fight us all." "Can't I?" Hana smiled, and there was something terrifying about that smile. "Let's find out." She moved toward Krevnash first. He tried to dodge, but she was impossibly fast. Her hand touched his neck for just a moment, and he collapsed to the floor, unconscious but alive. Thexmol backed against the wall. "What do you want?" "Right now, I want to rescue my friends. After that, I want you to send a message to your entire empire. Tell them that humans are not prey. And if I refuse, then I'll send the message myself, after I take control of your ship." Thexmol laughed, though it sounded forced. "One being cannot take control of a ship this size. Watch me." Hana moved to the door, which was locked from the outside. She examined the locking mechanism for a moment, then placed her hand on it. Sparks flew as she somehow interfaced directly with the electronic systems. The door slid open. "Impossible," Thexmol breathed. "Your people have been conquering primitive species for so long, you've forgotten what real evolution looks like," Hana said. "You see weapons and ships and think you understand strength. But true strength comes from inside. From the will to survive, to protect others, to fight even when fighting seems hopeless." She stepped into the corridor. 2 Vorthak guards were running toward the medical bay, drawn by the alarms. When they saw Hana, they raised their weapons. Hana moved like liquid lightning. She was behind the first guard before he could fire, taking his weapon and using it to stun the second. Both aliens hit the floor within seconds. How? Thexmal asked, following her into the corridor. The same technology that brought me back also enhanced me, Hana explained, checking the unconscious guards to make sure they were still breathing. Faster reflexes, stronger muscles, better brain function. But most importantly, perfect knowledge of anything I touch, including your weapons, your computers, and your ship. She started walking down the corridor, moving with purposeful strides. Thexmal hurried to keep up, afraid to be left alone but equally afraid to stay with this transformed human. Where did your people get such technology? He asked. We created it. Humans have been preparing for contact with hostile alien species for decades. We just hoped we'd never have to use these preparations. More guards appeared at the end of the corridor. This time there were 4 of them, and they were ready for her. They fired their weapons in coordinated bursts, trying to pin her down. Hana didn't slow down. She seemed to know exactly where each shot would go before it was fired. She dodged between the energy blasts like she was dancing, getting closer to the guards with each step. When she reached them, the fight was over in moments. She moved from one guard to the next, using their own weapons against them, turning their coordinated attack into chaos. None of them were killed, but all of them were unconscious within 30 seconds. Incredible, Thexmal whispered. This is just the beginning, Hana said. She was breathing normally, not even winded from the fight. Your people made a mistake when they decided to torture me instead of killing me quickly. You gave my body's defenses time to activate. They reached a transport tube that would take them to Deck 9. As they waited for the car to arrive, Hana turned to study Thexmal. Tell me something, she said. How many species has your empire destroyed? Destroyed? We do not destroy. We conquer. We bring order to chaos. How many species have you wiped out completely? Thexmal hesitated. Some species refuse to accept order. Sometimes examples must be made. How many? 43, he admitted quietly. 43 entire species. Billions or trillions of beings, dead because they wouldn't submit to you. Hana's silver-flecked eyes seemed to glow. And you call humans primitive? The transport car arrived, and they stepped inside. As it began to move, Hana placed her hand on the control panel. Instantly, she had access to the entire ship's transportation system. Interesting, she murmured. You have override codes that can lock down any section of the ship, and emergency protocols that can vent atmosphere from specific areas. You cannot access those systems, Thexmal said nervously. They require command-level authorization. Your command-level authorization is based on genetic scans and neural patterns, Hana said, both of which I can now mimic perfectly. She was right. The system accepted her commands without question, recognizing her as having full command authority. In moments, she had locked down the entire ship except for the path to the detention area. This is impossible, Thexmal said. You are one being. You cannot control an entire ship. I'm not just one being anymore, Hana replied. I'm connected to every system on this ship. I can feel the energy flowing through the circuits, the air moving through the ventilation systems, the thoughts of your crew as they try to figure out what's happening. The transport car stopped at Deck 9. When the doors opened, Hana could hear shouting and alarm sounds from all directions. The crew was panicking, unable to understand how their ship had been compromised so quickly. Sectioned. 4 is this way, she said, starting down another corridor. The detention area has 20 guards, Thexmal warned. Even with your new abilities, you cannot fight so many at once. I don't plan to fight them, Hana said. I plan to turn their own defenses against them. She found a wall panel and interfaced with it. Within seconds, she had accessed the detention area's security systems. Emergency barriers slammed down, trapping most of the guards inside corridors. Stun fields activated in strategic locations, knocking out the remaining guards without harming them. The ship's defenses are designed to stop intruders from getting in, Hana explained. They work just as well for stopping defenders from moving around. When they reached the detention area, the few remaining guards surrendered immediately, They had heard what happened to their colleagues, and they had no desire to fight this enhanced human. Hana found the cell where Jiho and Wu Jin were being held. When she opened the door, both men stared at her in amazement. "Hana?" Jiho whispered. "But they said you were dead." I got better." Wu Jin noticed her silver-flecked eyes and the way she moved with fluid, inhuman grace. "What happened to you?" "Later," Hana said. "Right now we need to leave, and we need to send a message that will make sure no other human ships get captured, like we were." She turned to look at Thexmol, who had been following her in stunned silence. "Time to show your empire what humans are really capable of," she said. On the fourth day, Hana's body finally gave up fighting. She had been strapped to the torture chair for nearly 72 hours with only brief breaks. Her heart had been beating irregularly for the last 6 hours. Her breathing had become shallow and painful. Blood vessels in her eyes had burst, turning the whites red. Krevnash watched the monitors that tracked her vital signs. The lines on the screens were getting weaker and more erratic. "Her biological systems are failing," he reported to Thexmol. "The cellular damage is too extensive." "Can you repair her?" Thexmol asked. He wanted to continue the interrogation. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a species this stubborn. Not this time. "Her brain chemistry is too altered. Even if I restore her body, her mind would be useless." Thexmol looked down at Hana with a mixture of frustration and grudging respect. She was barely conscious now, her head hanging forward against the restraints. Her breathing was so quiet he could hardly hear it. "Human," he said loudly. Hana slowly raised her head. Her face was pale and drawn, but her eyes still held defiance. "Last chance," Thexmol said. "Tell me where your homeworld is, and I will make your death quick and painless." Hana's lips moved, but no sound came out at first. She tried again and, this time, managed to whisper a single word. "No," Thexmol growled in frustration. "Increase the neural disruption to maximum." "Commander, that will kill her," Krevnash warned. "Do it." Krevnash activated the machine. Every nerve in Hana's body screamed at once. Her back arched against the chair and a terrible sound came from her throat. Not quite human anymore. Then suddenly she went completely still. The monitors showed flat lines. No heartbeat, no brain activity, no breathing. Time of death, 14:23. "Ship time," Krevnash announced, checking his instruments. Thexmol stared at Hana's motionless form. "Scan her again. Make sure." Krevnash ran a full biological scan. Confirmed. Complete cellular death has begun. Brain function has ceased entirely. She is dead. "Primitive fool," Thexmol muttered. "She chose death over cooperation. Her sacrifice means nothing. We will find her world eventually." "What should we do with the body?" Krevnash asked. "Preserve it for autopsy. I want to understand what made her so resistant. Perhaps we can use that knowledge against others of her species." They unstrapped Hana's body from the chair and placed it on a metal table. Krevnash injected preservation chemicals to stop the decay process. Then they covered her with a white sheet and moved the table to the medical bay. "What about the other 2 humans?" Krevnash asked. "Continue testing them. They may be more reasonable now that they have seen their leader's fate." Unknown to either alien, something was happening inside Hana's dead body. Microscopic machines, smaller than blood cells, were activating throughout her system. These nanobots had been sleeping in her bloodstream since before she left Earth, waiting for a very specific signal. The signal was death itself. The nanobots were part of a secret military program called Project Lazarus. Only a few humans knew about it, and Hana had not been one of them. The nanobots had been injected into her blood during a routine medical exam before her space mission. She had never known they were there. The program was experimental and highly classified. Scientists had discovered a way to create tiny machines that could repair cellular damage at the molecular level. But the nanobots only activated when their host died, triggered by the specific chemical changes that occurred during cellular death. The theory was simple. If soldiers could be brought back from death with enhanced capabilities, humanity would have a significant advantage in future conflicts. The practice was much more complicated. As Hana's body lay motionless in the medical bay, millions of nanobots began their work. They repaired damaged cells, rebuilt destroyed tissue, and strengthened what they fixed. They worked on her brain first, restoring neural pathways and enhancing synaptic connections. They fixed her heart, making the muscle stronger and more efficient. They repaired her bones, making them denser and harder to break. They enhanced her muscles, increasing both strength and reaction speed. Most importantly, they began to integrate with her nervous system, creating new neural networks that would give her abilities no normal human possessed. The process took exactly 37 minutes. In the ship's detention area, Jiho and Woojin sat in a small metal cell. They had not been told what happened to Hana, but they could guess. The aliens who brought them food seemed pleased with themselves, and that was never a good sign. "Do you think she told them anything?" Woojin whispered. "No," Jiho said with certainty. "Hana would die first. Maybe she already has." They sat in silence, each lost in their own grief. Hana had been more than their colleague. She had been their friend, their leader, and their inspiration. The thought of her suffering alone while they sat helplessly in this cell was almost unbearable. "We have to do something," Woojin said suddenly. "What can we do? We're locked in a metal box on an alien ship. We don't even know where we are." "I don't know, but we can't just sit here." Before Jiho could respond, they heard an alarm begin to sound throughout the ship. It was a harsh wailing noise unlike anything they had heard before. "What's happening?" Woojin asked. Through the small window in their cell door, they could see alien crew members running through the corridors. They looked panicked, shouting to each other in their strange language. In the medical bay, Krevnash was checking on some tissue samples when the body scanner began making noise. He looked at the display and frowned. According to the readings, there was brain activity in the dead human's body. "Impossible," he muttered, adjusting the scanner. The machine must be malfunctioning. But the readings were getting stronger. Heart rate, brain waves, respiratory function, all were showing activity where none should exist. Krevnash moved to the table where Hana's body lay under the white sheet. He pulled back the covering to examine her more closely. Hana's eyes were still closed, her skin still pale. But as he watched, color began to return to her cheeks. Her chest rose and fell with slow, steady breathing. "Commander Thexmol to Medical Bay immediately," Krevnash called into his communication device, trying to keep the panic out of his voice. He attached a brain scanner to Hana's head and nearly fell backward when he saw the results. Not only was her brain active, it was more active than any brain he had ever measured. Neural pathways were firing at impossible speeds. New connections were forming even as he watched. Thexmol arrived just as Hana's vital signs returned to normal levels. Better than normal, actually. Her heart rate was slow and steady, her breathing deep and regular. All signs of her injuries had disappeared. "Explain this," Thexmol demanded. "I cannot," Krevnash admitted. "She was dead, completely dead. I confirmed it myself. But somehow, she's alive again." "Some kind of suspended animation?" "No, she experienced true biological death, but now," he gestured helplessly at the monitors, "now she appears to be healthier than when we first captured her." As they watched, Hana's eyes opened. But they were different now. Instead of normal brown, they had flecks of silver that seemed to shift and move. When she focused on Thexmol, he felt like she was looking right through him. She sat up smoothly, moving with a fluid grace that was somehow not quite human. The restraints that should have held her to the table snapped like paper. "Hello?" she said calmly, her voice clear and strong. "Thank you for the demonstration. Now let me show you what humans are really capable of." The pain started as a burning feeling in Hana's head. It felt like someone was pushing hot needles into her brain. She gritted her teeth and tried not to scream. "Tell me about your military," Thexmol said, his voice calm and patient. "How many ships does your species have?" Hana kept her mouth shut. The pain got worse, spreading down her neck and into her arms. Her hands began to shake against the metal straps that held her to the chair. Your silence is pointless, said another voice. Hana opened her eyes and saw a smaller alien standing next to Thexmol. This one had blue-gray skin and only 2 eyes, but they were larger than a human's. I am Krevnash, the pain specialist. I have broken thousands of beings from dozens of species. You will tell us what we want to know. Krevnash touched something on one of the machines. The burning in Hana's head became like fire. She couldn't help it this time. She screamed. Good, Krevnash said. Your nervous system responds normally to neural disruption. This makes my job easier. The pain stopped suddenly. Hana gasped for air, her whole body covered in sweat. The metal chair felt cold against her back. That was level 1, Thexmol informed her. We have 10 levels. Most species tell us everything at level 3. I don't know anything about the military, Hana said, her voice hoarse. I study plants and small animals. I've never even seen a military ship. Krevnash looked at his instruments. Her brain patterns show she is telling the truth about her profession. But she knows more than she admits. Everyone knows something useful, Thexmol said. Where is your homeworld? Hana said nothing. She thought about her apartment back on Earth, with its small garden where she grew flowers. She thought about her parents who sent her messages every week asking when she was coming home to visit. Krevnash activated the machine again. This time the pain was in her chest, like someone was squeezing her heart with an iron fist. She couldn't breathe. Black spots appeared in front of her eyes. When it stopped, she was gasping like a fish out of water. Level 2, Krevnash announced. Her heart rate is elevated but stable. She can survive much more. They kept asking questions. Where was Earth? How many humans lived there? What weapons did they have? What were their weaknesses? Hana answered none of them. Each time she stayed silent, the pain got worse. They moved to level 3, then level 4. Her muscles began to spasm. Her vision blurred, but still she said nothing. Interesting, Thexmol said after several hours. Most species become cooperative by now. Perhaps her brain is damaged, Krevnash suggested. Some primitive species have defective reasoning centers. Test that theory. They changed tactics. Instead of pain, they tried something else. The machines began to show her images, horrible pictures of things she didn't want to see. Cities burning, people screaming, children crying for their parents. This is what will happen to your world when we find it, Thexmol said. We will take everything useful and destroy the rest. Your silence only delays the inevitable. Hana closed her eyes, but the images appeared inside her eyelids. The machines were putting them directly into her brain. Look at them, Krevnash commanded. See what your stubbornness costs. For the first time, Hana spoke. You're going to do that anyway. Whether I tell you or not, you'll hurt innocent people. That's what your kind does. Thexmol seemed surprised. You understand this, yet you still resist? Why? Because maybe if you don't find Earth today, someone will find a way to stop you tomorrow. Hope, Krevnash said, like the word tasted bad. The most useless emotion. Let me remove it for you. The next torture was worse than physical pain. The machines reached into her mind and pulled out her memories. They forced her to watch her childhood again, but twisted and wrong. They showed her parents dying. They showed her friends betraying her. They made her remember every sad moment of her life and made each one 10 times worse. But they also found her happy memories. Her first day as a scientist, the moment she discovered a new type of bacteria that could clean polluted water. The day she was chosen for this space mission. They tried to destroy those memories too, to make her forget why her life had meaning. Hana fought back in the only way she could. Every time they pulled out a memory, she held onto it tighter. When they showed her false images of her parents dying, she remembered their real faces, smiling and proud. When they tried to make her forget her scientific achievements, she recited her research in her head word by word. Her mental resistance is remarkable, Krevnash admitted after many hours. She rebuilds her psychological defenses faster than I can tear them down. Perhaps we are approaching this incorrectly, Thexmol said. Bring in the others. Hana's eyes snapped open. No, leave them alone. Ah, now we see your true weakness. You care more about others than yourself, a common flaw in social species. They brought Jiho and Wu Jin into the room. Both men looked terrified but unharmed. Guards pushed them to their knees in front of Hana's chair. Watch carefully, Thexmol told her. Every question you refuse to answer, we will hurt one of them. Hana, don't tell them anything, Jiho said quickly. We knew the risks when we signed up for this mission. Brave words, Krevnash said. He pointed a small device at Jiho. Let us see how long that bravery lasts. Jiho screamed as the device sent electricity through his body. His back arched and his hands clawed at the metal floor. Stop, Hana shouted. Stop it. Answer my questions, Thexmol said calmly. Where is Earth? Hana looked at Jiho, who was still shaking from the electrical shock. She looked at Wu Jin, whose face was pale with fear. She thought about the billions of people on Earth who would suffer if she gave these monsters what they wanted. I don't know, she lied. Krevnash turned his device on Wu Jin. The young engineer tried not to scream, but the electricity was too much. His cry of pain echoed off the metal walls. The coordinates of your homeworld, Thexmol demanded. Hana's heart was breaking. Watching her friends suffer was worse than any torture they had used on her. But if she told the truth, everyone she had ever known would die. I can't, she whispered. They tortured Jiho and Wu Jin for hours. They used electricity, burning needles and chemicals that made their skin feel like it was on fire. The two men begged Hana not to give in, even as they screamed in agony. Finally, Thexmol ordered the guards to take them away. We will return them to their cell for now, he told Hana. But tomorrow the torture will continue. And the next day, and every day after that until you tell me what I want to know. Alone again with her captors, Hana felt despair creeping into her heart. How long could she watch her friends suffer? How long could she hold out? You are stronger than most, Krevnash admitted. But everyone breaks eventually. I have been doing this for 50 years. I have never met a being who could resist forever. Maybe you've never met a human before, Hana said. No, Thexmol agreed. But now I have. And soon I will understand exactly what makes your species so stubborn. Then I will know how to break. All of you. They strapped her back into the chair. The torture began again, worse than before. They targeted her nervous system directly, making every nerve in her body feel like it was being cut with glass. They invaded her mind, trying to drive her insane with impossible images and sounds. But Hana held on. She thought about Earth's blue, skies and green forests. She thought about all the life forms she had studied, from tiny bacteria to great whales swimming in the ocean. She thought about how beautiful the universe was and how wrong it would be to let creatures like these destroy that beauty. Hours passed, then days. The torture never stopped for long. When her body was too damaged to continue, they would heal her with their machines just enough to start again. Why do you resist? Thexmol asked during one brief rest period. Your species is weak. Your technology is primitive. We will conquer you whether you help us or not. Maybe, Hana said, blood dripping from her mouth. But you'll have to work for it. This is pointless, Krevnash said. Her mind is too damaged to be useful now anyway. Continue, Thexmol ordered. Break her completely. I want to understand how much punishment a human can take. So they continued, and Hana endured. Her body was failing, her mind was fracturing, but her spirit remained unbroken. She would not betray her species. She would not give these monsters what they wanted. She would die first. The stars looked peaceful through the window of the research ship. Dr. Hana Park pressed her face against the cool glass and watched them twinkle in the darkness of space. She'd been studying those same stars for 3 weeks now, and they still amazed her. Hana, come look at this, called Jiho Kim from across the small laboratory. He was sitting at the main computer, his dark eyes wide with excitement. The energy readings are getting stronger. Hana walked over to him, her soft shoes making no sound on the metal floor. The ship was quiet, except for the gentle hum of the engines. Only 3 people lived on this small research vessel called Harmony's Edge. Hana was the scientist in charge. Jiho handled all the communications with Earth. Woojin Lee kept the ship running and fixed anything that broke. "Show me," Hana said, looking at the screen over Jiho's shoulder. The computer showed lines of green light dancing across a black background. The lines were moving faster now, jumping up and down like a heartbeat that was getting excited. "It started an hour ago," Jiho explained. "Whatever is making this energy, it's getting closer to us." Hana frowned. They had come to this empty part of space because something strange was happening near the Kepler 442 system. Earth scientists had detected unusual energy patterns, but they didn't know what was causing them. That's why they sent Hana and her team to investigate. "Where's Wu Jin?" Hana asked. "In the engine room. He's been working on the power cells all morning." Hana touched a button on the wall. "Wu Jin, can you come to the lab? We need to see this." A few minutes later, Wu Jin appeared in the doorway. His hands were dirty with grease, and his hair was messy from crawling around in tight spaces. He was the youngest of the 3, only 25 years old, but he knew more about machines than anyone Hana had ever met. "What's happening?" he asked, wiping his hands on a cloth. Jiho pointed at the screen. "The energy source is moving toward us. It's big, whatever it is." Woojin looked at the readings and whistled softly. "That's not natural. Something made this." Hana felt a cold feeling in her stomach. They were very far from Earth, farther than any human had ever traveled before. If something lived out here, something smart enough to create energy like this, they might not be friendly. "Should we send a message to Earth?" Jiho asked. "Not yet," Hana said. "Let's see what it is first. Maybe it's just some kind of space phenomenon. We don't understand yet." But even as she said it, she didn't believe it. The energy patterns were too organized, too purposeful. Something was making them on purpose. Suddenly, all the lights on the ship went out. The computer screens went black. Even the gentle humming of the engine stopped. The 3 humans stood in complete darkness and silence. "Wu Jin?" Hana whispered. "I'm trying," came his voice from somewhere in the dark. She heard him moving around, probably trying to reach the emergency controls. Then just as suddenly as they had gone out, the lights came back on. But something was wrong. The light was different now, brighter and more blue than before. "That's not our lighting system," Woojin said, his voice shaking slightly. Hana looked out the window and gasped. Where there had been empty space before, now there was a wall of metal. It was so close she could see patterns carved into its surface. Strange symbols and shapes that hurt her eyes to look at. "We're inside something," she said quietly. The ship shook gently, as if something large was moving around them. Then they heard a sound none of them had ever heard before. It was like metal scraping against metal, but with a musical quality that made their teeth ache. "Hana," Jiho said, pointing at his communication equipment, "I'm getting a signal." "From Earth?" "No. From whatever has us." The sound stopped. In the silence that followed, they heard new sounds. Footsteps, but not human footsteps. These were heavier, with a strange rhythm like someone walking on too many legs. "They're coming aboard," Woojin whispered. Hana looked around the small lab. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Their ship was tiny compared to whatever had captured them. Even if they could get to the engines, there was no way to escape. The footsteps got louder. Then they heard the sound of their airlock opening. Someone, or something, was cutting through the metal door that separated them from space. "Stay together," Hana said. "Whatever happens, we stay together." Jiho and Woojin moved closer to her. They had worked together for 2 years and they trusted each other completely. If they were going to face something alien and unknown, at least they would face it as a team. The door to the lab opened with a hiss. What came through was like nothing Hana had ever imagined. It was tall, maybe 8 feet high, with skin that looked like gray leather. It had 4 arms and walked on 2 powerful legs. Its head was shaped like a triangle, with 3 eyes that glowed red in the blue light. Behind the first creature came 2 more just like it. They wore what looked like armor, made of the same metal as their ship. In their hands, they held weapons that hummed with energy. The first creature spoke, and somehow Hana understood the words even though she had never heard the language before. Maybe their technology was translating for them. Humans, it said, and the word sounded like an insult. Primitive mammals from the small blue world. We're peaceful explorers, Hana said, trying to keep her voice steady. We mean no harm. The creature made a sound that might have been laughter. Harm? You are insects. You cannot harm anything. That matters. One of the other creatures pointed its weapon at Jiho and Wu Jin. These two will be held for study. The female will come with us. No, Hana said quickly. If you want information, I'm the leader. Take me, but leave them alone. The first creature studied her with its 3 red eyes. You offer yourself to protect the others. Interesting. Your species shows some basic pack loyalty. We call it friendship, Hana said. Whatever you call it, it makes you weak. Thexmol will enjoy learning about your weaknesses. 2 of the creatures grabbed Hana's arms. Their hands were rough and cold through her clothes. She didn't struggle. Fighting would only make things worse for Jiho and Wu Jin. Hana, Jiho called out, but one of the creatures pointed its weapon at him, and he stopped moving. Don't worry about me, Hana called back as they dragged her toward the door. Just stay alive, both of you. As they pulled her through the corridors of the alien ship, Hana tried to memorize everything she saw. The walls were covered with the same strange symbols she had seen from outside. The air smelled like metal and something else, something organic and unpleasant. Other creatures watched as they passed. Some looked like the ones who had captured her, but others were different. Smaller, with different colored skin, different numbers of arms and eyes. Hana realized this wasn't just one alien species. This was some kind of empire with many different types of beings. They brought her to a large room with a chair in the center. The chair had straps and wires attached to it. Machines surrounded it, all humming with the same energy she had detected on her instruments. The largest of her captors stepped forward. This one wore more elaborate armor and had scars across its gray skin. I am Thexmol, it said. Commander of this vessel, you will tell me about your species' military capabilities. You will tell me the location of your homeworld. You will tell me how many of your kind exist. I'm a scientist, Hana said. I don't know about military things. Thexmol made that laughing sound again. You will learn to be honest with me. We have methods to encourage honesty. They strapped her into the chair. The metal was cold against her skin. Wires touched her arms and head, and immediately she felt a tingling sensation. Your brain is simple, Thexmol said, looking at one of the machines. This should not take long. Hana closed her eyes and thought about Jiho and Wu Jin. She thought about Earth, with its blue oceans and white clouds. She thought about all the people there who would never know what happened to them if she gave these creatures the information they wanted. Begin, Thexmol commanded. The tingling became pain, but Hana had made her decision. She would not break. She would not tell them anything, no matter what they did to her. The 3 human ships appeared on the view screen like avenging angels. They were military vessels, sleek and deadly, with weapons that could crack planets. But more importantly to Hana, they represented home. This is Admiral Yeji's song of the Human Defense Fleet, came a voice over the communication system. We received your distress signal. Are you safe? Hana smiled and opened the communication channel. This is Dr. Hana Park. We are safe, Admiral, and we have a situation under control. Dr. Park, our records show you were reported dead 4 days ago. I got better. There was a long pause. We're going to need a full debriefing and an explanation of how you took control of a Vorthak mothership. Later, Admiral, right now we need to send a message that will echo throughout this entire sector of space. Hana turned back to Thexmol and the trapped bridge crew. You're about to witness something your empire has never seen before. Humans working together. She activated the ship's external cameras, showing the Vorthak crew what was happening outside. The 3 human ships had moved into formation around the mothership. They weren't attacking, but their weapons were clearly powered and ready. Admiral Song, Hana said into the communicator, I need you to record what happens next. This recording needs to be broadcast throughout known space. Understood. Recording now. Hana walked to the center of the bridge, making sure she was visible to all the alien crew members. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but carried an authority that made everyone listen. Commander Thexmal, she said formally, you represent the Vorthak Empire. 4 days ago, your people made a decision to attack a peaceful human research vessel. You captured 3 scientists whose only crime was curiosity about the universe. You tortured one of them to death. Thexmal tried to speak, but Hana held up a hand to stop him. You did this because you believed humans were weak. You thought we were just another primitive species to be conquered and enslaved. You were wrong. She gestured to the view screen, where the human ships waited in perfect formation. Those ships contained technologies your empire has never seen. Weapons that could turn this entire solar system into dust. But more importantly, they contained something your empire has forgotten how to use. What? Thexmal asked, though he seemed afraid to hear the answer. Compassion, restraint, the ability to choose mercy over vengeance. Hana walked closer to him, and he could see the silver flecks in her eyes shifting like liquid metal. I could have killed every being on this ship. With the knowledge I gained from your computers, I could guide those human ships to every Vorthak base in this sector. We could destroy your entire local fleet in a matter of hours. The alien crew members looked terrified. They had seen what she could do with their own technology. The thought of what human technology might be capable of was almost too frightening to consider. But we won't, Hana continued, because destroying you would make us no better than you. Instead, we're going to give you a choice. She activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting on all Vorthak military frequencies. This message is for the entire Vorthak Empire, she announced. From this moment forward, human space is forbidden to your ships. Any Vorthak vessel that approaches a human colony or research station will be considered an act of war. Any attempt to capture or harm humans will result in immediate retaliation. She paused, making sure her words were being recorded and transmitted throughout the empire. But we're not unreasonable. We know your empire has conquered many innocent species. We know you keep slaves and destroy anyone who resists. That stops now. With a gesture, she brought up holographic displays showing the locations of Vorthak slave camps and conquered worlds. These are the coordinates of every oppressed population in your territory. We're sharing this information with every free species in the galaxy. They now know exactly where to find their enslaved people and how to rescue them. The bridge crew watched in horror as their military secrets were broadcast for all to see. Decades of careful expansion and strategic positioning were being undone in minutes. Furthermore, Hana continued, we're providing detailed information about your ship designs, your weapons technology, and your tactical doctrines. Every species you've oppressed now knows exactly how to fight back effectively. Thexmal finally found his voice. You're declaring war on the entire empire? No, Hana said calmly. We're declaring that the age of easy conquest is over. Your empire has grown fat and lazy by attacking species that couldn't fight back. Now they can. She turned to address the bridge crew directly. You have 2 choices. You can return to your empire and continue your old ways, knowing that your victims now have the knowledge and support to resist. Or you can choose a different path. What different path? Asked one of the alien officers. Join us. Help us undo the damage your empire has caused. Use your knowledge of Vorthak operations to free the enslaved and protect the innocent. Prove that your species can be better than its worst impulses. The crew members looked at each other uncertainly. The idea of betraying their empire was terrifying, but so was the prospect of returning to face punishment for this massive intelligence failure. Think about it, Hana said. Your empire treats you as expendable. When you return and report this failure, what do you think will happen to you? Thexmal's face went pale. She was right. The empire did not tolerate failure, especially failure of this magnitude. But if you help us, Hana continued, you'll be heroes to the species you help free. You'll be part of something greater than conquest and domination. She walked to the main command console and began powering down the ship's weapon systems. I'm going to release you now, all of you. You're free to go wherever you want, do whatever you think is right. The energy barriers holding the crew dissolved. The restraint fields deactivated. For the first time in hours, the aliens could move freely. That's it? Thexamol asked suspiciously. You're just letting us go? I told you, we're not like your empire. We don't rule through fear and oppression. We believe beings should be free to choose their own path. Some of the crew members immediately headed for the escape pods, wanting nothing more than to get away from this terrifying human. But others hesitated, listening as Hana continued speaking. Those of you who want to help, stay. Those who want to leave, go with our blessing. But remember this moment. Remember that you had the chance to choose mercy over violence, cooperation over conquest. Jiho and Woojin moved to stand beside their friend. They were still amazed by her transformation, but they could see that underneath all the enhancements, she was still the same person who had refused to betray humanity even under torture. Admiral Song, Hana said into the communicator, we're going to need transport back to human space, and we'll have some volunteers coming with us. Aliens who want to help us free their empire's victims. Understood. We'll make arrangements. About half the Vorthak crew chose to leave, taking escape pods and fleeing into space. The other half, including several officers and most of the enslaved aliens from the lower decks, chose to stay and help. Thexmal was the last to decide. He stood in front of Hana for a long moment, studying her transformed features. You could have destroyed us all, he said quietly. Yes. Your people could conquer our empire if they wanted to. Probably. But conquest isn't what we want. What do you want? Hana smiled, and for a moment she looked like the gentle scientist she had been before her death and resurrection. We want to explore the universe. We want to learn about new species and new worlds. We want to help beings reach their full potential instead of grinding them under our heels. We want to prove that intelligence and compassion are stronger than fear and violence. Thexmal was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. I will return to the Empire, but I will not report this as a failure. What will you report? That humanity is not prey, that any attempt to conquer your species will result in the liberation of every slave in our territory and the destruction of our military advantages. That the Empire's choice is simple: leave humans alone or face the consequences of awakening a sleeping giant. Hana nodded approvingly. That's exactly the message we want them to receive. As the human ships prepared to escort their rescued people home, Hana took one last look around the alien bridge. She had died in this ship's torture chambers. She had been reborn in its medical bay. She had discovered powers she never knew existed and used them to protect not just her own people, but all the innocent beings oppressed by the Vorthak Empire. Ready to go home? Jiho asked. Almost, Hana said. She turned to the remaining Vorthak crew members who had chosen to help. Welcome to the Resistance. We have a lot of work to do. The silver flecks in her eyes seemed to dance with anticipation. The galaxy was about to discover what humans could accomplish when they set their minds to protecting the innocent and fighting injustice. The age of easy conquest was over. The age of liberation had begun, and it had started with one human woman who refused to break even in death. Jiho and Woojin followed Hana through the corridors of the alien ship, still trying to understand what had happened to their friend. She moved differently now, with a fluid grace that seemed almost like floating. Her eyes held knowledge that hadn't been there before, and when she looked at the ship's walls, she seemed to see through them. Hana, how are you doing this? Woojin asked as she opened another security door with just a touch. The nanobots in my bloodstream activated when I died, she explained simply. They rebuilt me, but stronger. I can interface with any electronic system now, and my physical capabilities are enhanced beyond normal human limits. Nanobots? Jiho looked confused. What nanobots? Project Lazarus. A secret military program I didn't even know I was part of. Hana paused at an intersection, listening to sounds only she could hear through the ship's communication systems. Guards coming from the left. 6 of them. She placed her hand on a wall panel, and suddenly the corridor filled with a fine mist. The approaching guards began coughing and stumbling as the ship's fire suppression system activated in their section. Non-lethal, Hana assured her friends. Just sleeping gas. They'll wake up in a few hours. Thexmol, who had been forced to accompany them, watched in growing amazement and fear. Your species planned for this? For death and resurrection? Humans have been preparing for hostile first contact for decades, Hana said. We hoped it would never be necessary, but we've learned that hope isn't enough. Sometimes you have to be ready for the worst. They reached another transport tube, but this one was locked down. Red lights flashed around the entrance and alien text scrolled across a display screen. What does it say? Jiho asked. Security lockdown, Thexmol translated reluctantly. No movement between decks without command authorization. Hana smiled and placed both hands on the control panel. Sparks flew as she interfaced directly with the ship's central computer. The red lights turned green and the transport tube opened. I have command authorization, she said simply. As they rode the transport to the ship's bridge, Hana accessed more and more of the ship's systems. She could feel the flow of power through the engines, the circulation of air through the life, support systems, the positions of every crew member throughout the vessel. There are 347 beings on this ship, she told her friends. Most are Vorthak, but 43 are slaves from other conquered species. They're being kept in the lower decks as laborers. Slaves? Wujin's voice was angry. We have to help them. We will. But first, we need to secure the bridge and send our message. The transport stopped at the command deck. When the doors opened, they could hear shouting and alarm sounds from the bridge. The crew was in chaos, unable to understand how their security systems had been compromised. 22 crew members on the bridge, Hana said, closing her eyes, and sensing their positions through the ship's internal sensors. 12 are armed guards, the rest are technical staff. How do we get past 22 aliens? Jiho asked. We don't fight them. We turn their own ship against them. Hana found another wall panel and interfaced with it. Suddenly, energy barriers sprang up throughout the bridge, separating the crew into small groups. Emergency restraint. Fields activated, holding the guards in place. The technical staff found themselves locked behind force fields, but otherwise unharmed. What is happening? Came Thexmol's voice over the communication system. But this wasn't the Thexmol standing. Next to them, it was a recording Hana had made using the ship's voice synthesis system. Bridge crew, this is Commander Thexmol. The fake voice continued. We are conducting a security drill. Remain at your stations and do not resist the automated systems. The confused crew stopped struggling against the restraint fields, thinking. Their commander had ordered the drill. Clever, the real Thexmol admitted grudgingly. They walked onto the bridge without opposition. The trapped crew stared at the humans in shock, especially at Hana with her silver-flecked eyes and otherworldly movements. Hana approached the main command console and placed her hands on it. Instantly, she had complete control of the ship. Every system, every weapon, every communication array, all of it was now under her command. Incredible, she murmured, feeling the vast power of the vessel flowing through her consciousness. This ship could destroy entire cities, and you use it to torture and enslave innocent beings. She turned to face the trapped bridge crew. When she spoke, her voice was transmitted throughout the entire ship so every crew member could hear. I am Dr. Hana Park of the human species, she announced. 4 days ago, you captured me and my colleagues. You tortured me to death trying to extract information about my people. You made a mistake. Through the ship's sensors, she could feel the fear spreading among the crew. Many of them had never encountered a species that could come back from death. I want you all to listen carefully, Hana continued. You are going to return to your empire and tell them exactly what happened here. You are going to explain that humans are not the primitive prey you thought we were. You are going to make it very clear that any future attacks on human ships will be met with consequences you cannot imagine. She activated the ship's external communication array and began broadcasting on all frequencies used by the Vorthak Empire. This message is for the leadership of the Vorthak Empire, she said. You have made first contact with humanity by attacking our peaceful research vessel. You tortured one of our people to death. This was a grave error in judgment. On the main view screen, she displayed images from her own memories, the torture, the pain, the moment of her death. The bridge crew watched in horrified fascination. See, we humans have a particular way of dealing with those who hurt innocent people. We become very, very motivated to make sure it doesn't happen again. Hana began accessing the ship's weapons systems. The massive plasma cannons that could level mountains turned to target the escort ships that surrounded the mothership. Your escort vessels have exactly 1 minute to withdraw to a safe distance, she announced. After that, I will demonstrate what human, primitive technology can accomplish when properly motivated. Through the external sensors, they could see the smaller ships beginning to move away from the mothership. The commanders of those vessels had heard the stories of what was happening aboard the flagship, and they had no desire to test this strange human's capabilities. Wise choice, Hana said. She turned back to the bridge crew. Now let's discuss your future behavior. She activated the ship's holographic display system, showing a 3-dimensional map of local space. Dozens of red dots appeared, marking the positions of other Vorthak ships in the area. I can see your entire local fleet, she told them. 47 ships carrying approximately 15,000 crew members. Would you like to see what happens when I take control of all of them, simultaneously? Before anyone could answer, she reached out through the ship's communication array and began interfacing with the computer systems of the other vessels. One by one, their engines shut down, their weapons powered down, their life support systems switched to emergency backup mode. The bridge crew watched in terror as their entire fleet was disabled by a single human touching a control panel. This is just a demonstration, Hana said calmly. I could do much worse. I could turn your ship's weapons on each other. I could vent atmosphere from selected areas. I could override your navigation systems and send you into the nearest star, Oinidim. Released control of the other ships, allowing their systems to come back online. But I won't. Because despite what you've done to me, I'm still a scientist, not a killer. I prefer solutions that don't involve unnecessary death. Jiho and Wu Jin watched their transformed friend with a mixture of awe and concern. She was still Hana, but she was also something more now. Something powerful and slightly terrifying. However, Hana continued, addressing the Vorthak crew. My restraint has limits. If you continue to attack human ships, if you continue to torture and enslave innocent beings, you will discover that not all humans are as merciful as I am. She began downloading information from the ship's databases, star charts, military codes, intelligence reports about other species the Vorthak had conquered. I'm taking copies of your records, she explained. Everything about your empire, your military capabilities, your plans for future conquests. This information will be shared with every species you've oppressed. They deserve to know exactly who their oppressors are and how to fight back. The Vorthak crew looked sick. Their military, secrets, their strategic advantages, their hidden bases, all of it was being copied by this enhanced human. Please, one of the bridge officers said. You don't understand. The Empire will kill us all if we return with this failure. Then don't return, Hana said simply. Take this ship and flee. Find somewhere your empire can't reach you. Or better. Yet use your knowledge to help the species you've oppressed fight back against your former masters. She turned to Thexmol. As for you, Commander, you have a choice to make. You can return to your empire and report that humans are dangerous enemies to be avoided. Or you can stay here and face the consequences of your actions. Thexmol looked around at his disabled crew, his compromised ship, his ruined career. What? Consequences? You'll find out soon enough. My people are coming. As if summoned by he,